Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here, and today I'm in a French mood, yay! Which has got nothing to do with the book I'm going to review today. Well, what is that book? I'm glad you asked. It is The English Patient by Michael Ondaatje. Now, I think that's how I say his name. He's a Canadian author, but he's got, I think, a Sri Lankan background. I bought this book for $3 at a secondhand bookstore. When I saw it in the shelves, I just had to buy it because when I first saw the movie back out in 1996, I fell in love with the movie. It was so beautiful. I cried a lot. But when I brought this book home, well, I was the object of ridicule by my husband. He said, "Why'd you buy this book? It is the most boring film ever." And then he proceeded to act out Ralph Fiennes as the English patient. "Oh, I'm bad. I don't know where I am." Anyway, he made me laugh. Which is not what you're going to do when you read this book. Now, I must admit, I found it hard going. The language is... look, it's a beautiful language. It's sensual. It evokes a time and place, an era of 1930s of the Egyptian desert and 1940s just after the war in Italy. Okay, what is this book about? Right, it is 1945. It is in Italy. There is a bombed out villa called Villa San Girolamo, if that means anything. I know it means absolutely nothing, so don't worry about it. Stick with me. So we get introduced to Hannah, who is a 20-year-old nurse, and she's grieving for her father who had passed away. Now, when everyone gets out of the village, I mean, it is 1945, and a lot of the Allies were saying to villagers, clear out, because they had to clear out the mines and the bombs that had gone unexploded. She chose to stay back in this villa and nurse an English patient. Now, we don't know who this English patient is. She assumes he's English because he speaks with an English accent. But he's severely burnt. He's completely black. He doesn't know who he is. He's bandaged up. Or does he know who he is? We don't know. Anyway, she calls him the English patient. This English patient is nursed back, not to health, but is given at least some comfort by Hannah. And so they both are in this bombed out village, villa. They're by themselves. In comes Caravaggio, who is the third character. Now, Caravaggio is a little bit older, who was a friend of Hannah's father, and he has a bit of a crush on Hannah herself. And so he is a thief, and he's been used for purposes by the Allies to steal stuff, right? So he's been working with the Allies on this thing. So he's a third character. The fourth character is a sapper, a mine diffusal, bomb disposal expert who happens to be a Sikh as well. You know, the guys who wear the turbans and who had very active roles in World War II. I guess they were very well thought of. Anyway, so he's at the villa as well, and he falls in love with Hannah, and it's a beautiful, beautiful love story between Kip and Hannah. And I remember it in the movie, and I'm just going, oh my God. Anyway, so they're the four characters, and each have got their own story to say. So Caravaggio is looking out and wants to know, where exactly did the English patient come from? Is he really English? What's his story? The English patient, meanwhile, waxes lyrical about his life before the war, and how we learn more about what was his role. And he might be a cartographer, someone who knows the deserts and knows the area of the deserts really well. Is he a spy? We don't know. I'm not going to say anything. Is he actually English? I'm not going to say anything. But over time, the English patient shares his story of what had happened before the war. Turns out that he fell in love. This beautiful, beautiful romance. Oh, it was so nice. Romance between Catherine Clifton. Now, Catherine was the wife of Geoffrey Clifton, and Geoffrey Clifton worked for the British intelligence, and they're on their honeymoon, and that's where he meets Catherine, and they fall in love, and it is a very beautiful love story. But it's not lewd in any way. It's just beautiful. Anyway, I can't explain it. You just got to read it, or you just got to see it on the... Anyway. And where was I going? Bloody romance. It is a romantic novel. So anyway, so we've got the English patient, we've got Caravaggio, we've got Hannah, we've got Kip. And then there are other characters who come in. But ultimately, the story, the themes here are everything from romance to grief, to national identity as well. National identity in the sense of poor Kip. He loved everything to do with Britain. He loved the history. He loved working with the Brits. He loved everything about the formality of being British versus the craziness of his Indian background. And yet, when Hiroshima happened and the bomb dropped in Japan, I think something just kind of switched in him, saying that the Allies would never have done it to a white country. So there was a kind of like a conflict between his identity as an Indian who, I guess, worked for the British, and also, anyway, there's an identity issue there. What? I'm going to keep this book on my bookshelf. Will I read it again? Probably unlikely. It was hard going for me to read, I must admit. And when it was hard going, I had to physically say the words out loud. So it goes into a flow. Also, it flits from one timeline to another, from one character to another. And there were times I had to reread it and go, who is this now? Who are they talking about now? Right. And other times it just quickly, like, I had to read to find out what was going on because I was so impatient about it. I love the book illustration by Matt Taylor. It was done as part of a series for some modern classics. The colour, the desert really evokes the feeling of the story of the book. And look, ultimately, you've got to read it and see for yourself if you have the patience to read something like this. If you have the patience to read something like this, I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. I probably wouldn't read it anytime soon, but I'll definitely see the movie again. So over to you. What do you think? English patient, yay or nay? Thanks for listening.